Had it been just the odd one, I wouldn't have ever suspected.
But there are so many. Shaw fears there might be something dangerous about Dr. Harold Shipman's practice. Is Dr. Shipman losing his ability to treat his patients? Is he prescribing the wrong drugs and unintentionally killing his patients?
The first time I spoke to my wife about it, she was shocked, she was frightened, and she said, if you're wrong about this, she said, you could get in very serious trouble. She said, don't go to the police about this. She said, they'll just ridicule you.
He starts to voice his concerns to his passengers.
I went to the stage of actually telling one lady, one widow, not to go to visit Shipman on her own. And she immediately stopped using me as a taxi because she felt that I was paranoid.
It would be inconceivable to think a doctor, certainly a quality physician like Dr. Shipman, was in some way harming his patients. If he comes forward and is wrong, it could cost him everything.
Dr. Shipman's patients absolutely adored him. I recall standing in for Dr. Shipman, people who would arrive, realised that Dr. Shipman wasn't in the building, that it was a stand-in locum doctor, and would frequently then say, I'd rather wait for Dr. Shipman to come back.
A year passes. 15 more silent and mysterious deaths. What was it that was killing the people of Hyde? The doctors at Brooks Surgery finally agree to meet at a pub in another town to discuss the unusual deaths. Then one doctor, Linda Reynolds, who is now deceased, bravely says what everyone else can barely think.
Dr. Reynolds thought there was something more sinister, and I couldn't bring myself to think that almost, obviously unthinkable. Dr. Linda Reynolds, who was the first person to really voice the concern that this man was deliberately harming his patients. Now, that's a very bold statement for a doctor to make, that another doctor is deliberately harming his patients.
The consequences are very serious for the doctors if they are wrong. But they must do something. Within days, the head undertaker talks with Dr. Shipman about the high number of patient deaths. But Dr. Shipman is incensed that they would question his skills. He encourages the undertaker and anyone else to review his medical records. In each case, the records reveal health histories that support sudden cardiac arrest. But the doctors are unconvinced. Linda Reynolds had already made the leap that Shipman might be at fault.
And once she'd taken that step, the next step that she made was then to say, I think he's actually killing them. Once the unspoken was spoken, I think we knew that we could no longer just let this rest.
Fingers have already started pointing directly at Dr. Harold Shipman. But are the presumptions accurate? Could there be something the doctors and some of Hyde's residents are missing? It may take a police investigation and several more deaths before they find the real killer. In the 1990s, a rash of unexpected deaths raises suspicions among the residents of the small British town of Hyde. Taxi driver John Shaw has been keeping a list of customers who have died mysteriously. It now numbers more than 20.
I was hearing of deaths every week. The ladies themselves just didn't realise they'd lose a friend, and then another one would lose a friend, and another one. But I was seeing them going every week, one after another. It got to the stage where I couldn't concentrate on my driving. The fact that I was going past houses where ladies had died. I spoke to my wife and I said I must go and speak to someone about this. I must go to the police. I can't stand this any longer. She said, if you're wrong with this, you could get in very serious trouble. Do you realise what you're saying?
Around the same time as the doctors, Shaw also decides to take action. He speaks to an old friend, Detective Stan Egerton.
I said, well, I've got a list of ladies. I said that I feel that Shipman has killed. And Stan's reaction was, bloody hell, John, what are you talking about? How many have you got on this list?
Doctors at Brooks Surgery have also become suspicious and meet to discuss their evidence. If what they fear is true, they want to have proof before they risk taking their suspicions to police. The doctors start by discussing the disturbing number of cremation forms they have been asked to sign by Dr. Shipman.
I attempted to look at our death rates and Dr. Shipman's cremation requests from our practice. I had looked at the statistics to compare death rates. There was a staggering difference. There were effectively almost 3 times as many cremation forms from Dr. Shipman's practice as we had total deaths for the year. His practice list size was a third of ours, so that almost corresponds to a tenfold difference in number of deaths. And those were only the cremation deaths. There were probably another 30% of deaths either in hospital or who were buried, who we didn't know about.
Before the doctors are completely convinced, they try one more time to find a reasonable explanation for the deaths. Could it be that sicker patients seek his help? Perhaps it is his old-fashioned style of home care.
Shipman had a very strong notion that patients should not have undignified deaths in hospital. If somebody is ill and is going to die, that they should be kept at home in order that they may have a peaceful, dignified death. And again, we felt that that may be another reason why his death rate was far higher than ours.
The doctors still don't think the numbers add up, and they decide